and I got to be with you guys a few weeks ago for your leadership retreat. So it's always good to be with everyone there. Just so you know, I am a practitioner also here in Nashville, Tennessee. I do have a brokerage of roughly 300 agents, and I run my own real estate team of 5 people. And so we're literally selling and working every single day. One of my big things when we talk about these kind of things is that you understand that when we're working in these situations together, that I'm in the trenches with you guys every day. I understand what you guys are going through, and I'm in lead generation every day, and I'm dealing with websites every day. I'm in a huge website makeover right now as we speak. So my website is NashvilleandBeyond.com. You'll be seeing our current website, but I'm constantly updating, and I've learned a lot through the years. And so when I teach these kind of webinars, I just want to be completely honest and transparent with you guys. I want to talk to you a little bit about the victories we've had, the mistakes we've made, and some good ideas for you guys to go forward in your website area there. So we'll go ahead and get started here. And the first thing I want to talk to you about, the number one thing, so we have 5 things today we're going to talk about. But the very number one thing we have to talk about is a clear brand statement, okay? Now understand, brand is not a logo, brand is not a color, brand is not only those things. Brand is, what does this person feel when they see you? They see your brand, they see your company, they see anything about you. And guys, your website is the only portal that many people will have to your brand. So it's very important when people come to your website that they see it very clearly. Now on the simple level, and I could go deeply into the simple parts of websites, and those are simply just lists. You need to have your city very clearly on your website for people to see. There's so many realtor websites I go visit, and I'm trying to send referral traffic to it, and nowhere what we call above the fold. That means when someone opens a web page and they see the screen without scrolling, that's called above the fold. And usually nowhere above the fold can I find the city or the area that someone serves. And so it's very important when we go to a website that we can see a city, that we can see the basic contact information clear for people. But I want to go deeper today, because any of you can Google any of that and find out what you should have on your website. I want to talk about the true pieces of what we really need on our website. And before we can really understand our brand statement, we need to understand who are the consumers we're trying to reach, okay? So I want to talk about the 4 most popular consumer types. These are the ones that were identified back in the 90s during a Stanford study. So this is a new content, however, it's extremely salient. This is what I have run my web presence on, and this whole idea of how do I get people into the must-haves of my website. And the first group that we see today in the landscape of consumers are belongers. Now, belongers are people who typically will purchase in the suburbs. They're going to typically stay outside of the urban core of a city area. So, for example, as you guys know, I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, and our suburb areas are places like Smyrna, Hendersonville, White House, Portland. Those are areas that are within that 20 to 30-minute drive of downtown, but these areas are they're very community-oriented, and they really attract this kind of consumer. Now, understand this consumer has a very specific look that they are attracted to when they're visiting your website. Typically, belongers like the colors red, white, and blue. Very obviously, this group of consumers tend to be very patriotic. They're very attracted to the patriot colors and the colors of America. They're also very attracted to certain fonts on a website. Understand that there are 2 major font categories. When I say font, I'm talking about type that you see on the page. What you see on the page today, when you see belonger there, that is called a sans serif font. That means without a serif. And what a serif is is when you look at the end of, say, the letter I, of the lowercase I, and you see the little tabs at the bottom and the top, that's called a serif. As you can see here, there are no serifs on the word belongers. Keep in mind, belongers typically like a serif font. So they're typically going to be more attractive to the Garamounds, the Times New Romans, those kind of fonts in that customer behavior on a website. So understand colors, fonts, messaging. We'll talk about messaging and targeting ads in, I think, point number 5 in this webinar today. So hang tight for that. So belongers are the first large group of consumers. The second group of consumers is achievers. Now, achievers typically purchase in my marketplace in areas like Williamson County and an area called Belmead and Green Hills. Achievers are going to want to be very clear that they have arrived at a certain level of life. When they are speaking to their peers, when they are talking about their household purchase, when they are looking at the major consumer pieces of their life, they want to make sure that it is clear that they have arrived at a certain level in life. It's not a pompous or a pious way of arriving there. It's just simply when you hear certain areas and you know that they live there, it's known as a prestigious area. So these achievers, they typically they're drawn to any kind of website that will have a dark background. So we're looking at the deep burgundies, blacks, dark grays, navies, any color that will be with a more light type. And again, this demographic type is also attracted to that serif font also. So very robust, very rich in the web content you're giving them there also. So we've talked a little bit about belongers and achievers, which are the first two types. Now let's move on to the third type, the emulator. And the emulators are one of the hardest demographics to follow when we're looking at consumer behavior and websites. These folks will make you want to change your website every single week or every single month because their needs, desires, and what they see as current and ends change rapidly. Emulators typically are level below achiever. They want to be an achiever, but sometimes budgetary constraints don't allow them to go to that achiever status. So they're going to be looking at what are the hot areas that people are currently purchasing in. So I want you to think right now about your marketplace. And if you could think about a place that's seeing renewal or revival, or you're seeing a place where a lot of the new organic coffee shops are going in, a place that has a large, what we call hipster population. I want you to think about that neighborhood. Now, typically that consumer that's going in there, they're going to be going into that emulator mentality and the emulator consumer demographic. So when we're looking at marketing to emulators, you have to watch your colors, you have to watch your fonts because they change all the time. I do have several friends. The next group that we will talk about, the fourth, is actually the demographic I sell in. But those who I know who sell a lot to the emulator graphic, they change their website content constantly. I always advise people to be looking for the Pantone color of the year. Again, that's P-A-N-T-O-N-E, the Pantone color of the year. And usually that color of the year is typically where we see graphic design go for the year. I'm also looking at websites like Cooler, and that's Cooler with a K, to see what great web colors are out for that consumer that they would be most attracted to. And so emulators, they're hard to chase, but the joy is also with emulators. They also were typically, as NAR reports tell us, that typically the homeowners will switch homes every 7 years. Emulators tend to switch more often. So if you can appeal to this clientele, if you can create a website that will attract this clientele, you're going to get a lot of business because they are repeat business folks. Again, the issue with them, though, is they are the smallest demographic of these four. Okay, so there's not a whole lot of them out there, but it's a wonderful demographic to have as you're looking at web behavior and those must-haves for your website. Now I want to move to the consumer base that I work with mostly. And this consumer base is called the socially responsive. Now, if you're familiar with the Stanford study at all, it calls them socially conscious. I personally call them, because this is just me myself seeing a change in their behavior through the years. What socially conscious in the Stanford study said was that these people are aware of social needs in neighborhoods. What I see happening in my consumers now, these people are seeing needs and responding to needs in neighborhoods. So, for example, Chad and Ashley Likens would be my one big example of my socially responsive consumers. And this is a very candid and sad story, and some of you will hear the story and go, Brian, that's just wrong. It's a fair housing violation. I cannot believe this happened to someone, but it did. Chad and Ashley wanted to buy in a very transitional neighborhood. They had employed another realtor. Unfortunately, it was a realtor, and that realtor did not want to show them property in a certain neighborhood. They said, the realtor said that it was not appropriate for them, that since they were having children, that she didn't feel this neighborhood was safe for them. Fair housing flags all over the place on this situation. Again, I don't know the agent. I wasn't connected with him at this point. The straw that broke the camel's back for them one night was when the agent pulled up to the house that they really liked online, and the agent said, I'm going to run and unlock the door, and then I'm running back to my car and locking myself in. You spend all the time you want inside, but I'm not going inside with you. And at that point, they reached out to a friend of theirs, Christy, and said, we need a new realtor. We need someone who understands that we want to live in a neighborhood where, and this is my words, not their words, but the philosophy that Gandhi had, which was be the change you want to see in your world. They truly wanted to change their world. They wanted to live next door to perhaps a child who had parents who weren't around all the time and needed to understand where food came from, where they could have an organic garden in the back of their yard and show these kids what was happening there. They wanted to be able to live in a community where they could change and help not run people out of communities either. They want to help enhance their neighborhoods. They are a consumer base that we're seeing grow like you would not believe in this consumer marketplace. A lot of the millennials you're seeing entering the home buying market, which is a huge demographic. They are socially responsive buyers. They have been in this world of consumerism, and they understand the importance of being a change. So this demographic is rapidly growing. I'm spending a lot of time on it because I think it's important that we understand as we're developing a website what this consumer base wants. Okay. Now, on the simple levels, we've talked about colors and fonts. Again, socially responsive. You can see today this slide on the screen for you guys. It's a socially responsive slide. They typically like the sans serif fonts again. They're going to be drawn to very organic colors, or colors you would see in nature, like what we see here with the blue, the greens, the browns, the oranges, anything that's organic. Also, if you're looking at Apple's website, for example, and they have the white background, we talked about achievers earlier liking the darker backgrounds with the light type. This consumer base typically is drawn to minimalism. They like simple design. So if you have a website that is extremely busy with all kinds of fonts, with all kinds of pictures, with all kinds of animations on that website, they're typically going to visit your website and leave. They're just not into that. So on the basic 101 level of websites, understand simplicity is the key to this consumer base, for the socially responsive consumer base. Also, understand that this consumer base, they want to know beyond the website. You can still show these things on the website, but they want to hear from you that you are making a change in your community also. You can see this year with NAR, with Tom Salomon's administration in his concentration on community service with the Boys and Girls Club. NAR is very in tune with what the consumer base is doing now, and they want people to be involved in the community aspect of things. So this consumer continues to grow. We actually have special listing presentations that I have for each of these consumer mentalities and consumer types. So when I know that I'm going into a home that typically has a lot of socially responsive sellers in it and buyers in it, I'm typically using my listing presentation that has the light background with these fonts. And then I have an achiever, a listing presentation. I have a totally different look and feel to it. So think about the message that you're sending not only online, but also that message is matching these personality types when you're meeting them face-to-face, okay? So that tip number one, you have to have a clear brand on your website. And these kind of brands help attract the consumer we want to work with, okay? And you say, well, Brian, wait a second. I want to work with all four of these consumer types. Well, again, then you have to make some website decisions to decide what is going to give people the best experience that will appeal to the broadest group of people, and that's going to be your personal business decision, okay? So number one, understand your clear brand statement. Number two, and I know you're going to say, Brian, that sounds a whole lot like the first one, but number two is have a clear consumer statement. And when I say that, I'm not saying about a statement up there saying we want consumers like this. I'm saying you need to be very clear about what you want your website to attract as far as your consumer base. And the best way for me to start this process is I want to show you a website here that is by a gentleman named Raziel Ungar, and that's R-A-Z-I-E-L. Raziel Ungar, U-N-Z-A-R, U-N-G-A-R, excuse me. And as you can see his website here, the website is burlingameproperties.com/ for this situation, EN. And the reason that slash is there with the EN, that means for English. This guy has translated his website into so many languages, it's amazing. One of the languages he has translated into is Chinese and Mandarin, because there was a lot of investors and a lot of home buyers coming into his area who that was their first language. And so he has spent thousands of dollars making sure his website it appeals to all people. But the beauty of Raziel's website, and he just launched his website a few months ago. He has gone through a lot of evolution with his websites through the years. But he is absolutely my website hero. He's outside of the San Francisco area. And I want you to notice you've been watching the web slides change on this website. But when we talk about this whole idea of what is your consumer statement, I want you to really think about that for me. With this example today, we can see Raziel really wants the consumer to visit his site and say, you care about the consumers. And what's so different about this website, when we go to even my website, you're going to see up top above the fold, you're going to see Nashville. My philosophy has been show your city, show people where you live, show people that market, and tell that market story. Some of you on the line today and others have the philosophy of, I want to tell people about me. So when you go to your website, the first thing they see up top is your face, or your team's face, or something all about you. Those are philosophy questions. And I'm not going to get into whether you're right or wrong for your approach. I just want to show you a different consumer approach and challenge you there from that standpoint. So when we look here at Raziel, it's very clear. He wants the consumer to come to his site and see that they matter as a consumer. We can see these are actually his consumers, his customers who have closed homes, and this will continue to go. I want to go specifically to the first image you see on the website, this family right here. And when we click on Michael Ma, you think, oh, it's just pictures up top. No, he takes it to a totally different, deeper level and talks and goes into their home, does a photo shoot with them, and then asks them their story. And you can see right here below the photo, there's a webcast, a podcast that is going to be an interview with them. And I encourage you to take some time on this website, listen to these interviews, and hear and imagine through a consumer's eyes again. You're the consumer coming to a website, and this is what you get. You can hear people talking about their home buying journey. And when we look below here, we can see them talking about that in a text form. And the reason he does that is so it's searchable and findable, which we'll talk about in a later point also. And simple questions like my experience working with Raziel was, and then they answer that question. And then even to this level here at the bottom, you can see he's done photo shoots with even the daughter. And of course, in this situation, how many of you are thinking, what about releases? Yes, get an attorney, get releases, but these families, they are thrilled to do this for Raziel. And if you've ever seen Raziel speak, he is the most humble human I think I've ever met in my life. And he just really, truly cares about people. When we look, of course, he still has a property area here. Look at some of these average sale prices for you here. 1.6 million for only a few thousand square feet. So 1,100 square feet for 1.6 million. So it tells you what kind of market he is in. But you can also see he has really become a forefront person in this marketplace. One of the first things he did was his communities area. And this is another piece of when I'm talking about what consumer do you want to attract. He is really working on market information. And you see these maps. That doesn't look like a Google map. It doesn't look like a Bing map. It doesn't look like a Facebook map. Why? Because he had these proprietarily done. He actually went to a cardiologist and had the map person create these maps for him. So when you see the maps, they're very unique. And then also, we won't go deep into it today because we don't have enough time, but check into Raziel's his entire video areas. When you click on his neighborhoods, he has a very robust video library. So when you see over here, you click here, you're going to see school information. He's going to actually interview teachers. He's going to interview shop owners. It's just amazing. I know I've spent a lot of time on Raziel, but this guy is the star in my book in the nation when it comes to websites from an agent standpoint. He really understands what the consumer is looking for today, and he's made a very, very clear consumer statement. That statement that says, we care about you, consumer, we care about your needs and wants, and we want to serve you where you are, okay? So, number 3, and this is, we've talked first too about, your website's in place and you have it looking good. You have your brand statement, your consumer statement. You know who you're trying to reach. But if you can't get them there, what good is it? Your website could just sit there. And this is a philosophy, and again, I told you when I opened this up today that I was just going to be extremely candid with you guys. I'm really struggling right now in the web behavior as a whole to say how important is search on a website. Years ago, when I was first working in this web world, home search was the biggest thing that consumers wanted on a website. But now we've really seen a departure from the search happening on the brokerage and on the realtor website. They're using sites like Realtor.com. They're using the large company websites because of simply the ease of using them. A lot of these companies have sunk hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars into their search capabilities. And so a lot of agents today are finding it very hard to compete on that level with that kind of competition. So we have to employ other strategies to get people there with hyper-local, sticky content, okay? And there are 3 major ways that we get people to our website. And I'm going to go over these more deeply, but I want to give you an overview now. Search engine optimization, search engine marketing, and social media optimization. And this is a script and dialogue I want you guys to be able to put into your listing presentation. This is something that's in every one of my listing presentations. And it is, and you'll hear this and go, Brian, it sounds too technical. I would have a hard time saying that. Well, for me, it's like going and getting your car fixed. at the mechanic. You know, I don't know what that thingy do is and what that does and that does, but man, if I can just know a few major parts of a car when I go to a mechanic, I can at least communicate some of the basics there. And these are the very three basics of being found online, okay? And I'm also going to go here in a second and do some demos for you also as we go through this. The first one is search engine optimization, or SEO. Search engine optimization, or SEO. And these are the calls you get all the time from people on the phone trying to sell you something. Like, you know, we've checked your web presence and consumers cannot find you. Now, again, some of those are just web calls. They've not even looked at your website. They haven't Googled you. They're just going through phone scripts. But there is a piece of search engine optimization we all have to be aware of. We have to have our website in this third must-have. It must be built on a platform that is search-friendly, especially for the major search engine, Google. And the most search-friendly platform of all the websites out there, and this is, again, 101, so my people who are advanced users, I apologize for the more simple information on the webinar today, but the most robust searchable website is built on the WordPress platform. Again, WordPress platform. Most websites are built on that platform. Google indexes WordPress extremely well. And in this, it's important that you have content on this website that people will be looking for. And this is why earlier when I was talking about Raziel and he had people's names in there in text, and you saw, why don't he just have a video and a recording? No one really wants to read all that text. No, but Google wants to read that text. And that text allows people to find. So if someone's Googling one of Raziel's consumers who's done these, who say, for example, are relocating to that Burlingame area to take a job, and perhaps the CEO of that company has worked with Raziel and they're Googling their name, Raziel's website's the one they're going to find because Raziel has rich content, rich text content where people can find them there. So that SEO piece is huge to make sure you have the text there, that when people are Googling the term Baltimore real estate or Annapolis real estate or whatever Maryland city you're in, that's very clear for them where you are, and that Google is able to identify. Now, in the search engine optimization also, there's also a back-end area, and this is where you're going to need to speak with a web producer, someone who truly understands web, someone who on a daily basis is doing development of websites. And your back-end is called metadata. When I say metadata, that's META data. And it's making sure that our tags, our keywords are all very clear in the back end of our website, and that people can see that we're selling real estate in Chevy Chase, Maryland, or Annapolis, or wherever. Those things need to be in there for search engine optimization to be able to work. So again, those aren't the things we can really control a lot of from this standpoint as a realtor who's trying to build a website. That's where we do need to go hire someone professional. And I would really encourage you in this SEO area to really seek out those search engine optimization experts. One of the things that we can control is search engine marketing. And when I say search engine marketing, we've heard this constantly called pay-per-click. And that means for every click that you get to your website, you're paying for that click. And on that, this is an ad buying process. And I want to walk you through, again, something you can sit with sellers today in your listing presentation. And in many of the neighborhoods, when I'm listing in a complete subdivision, when I'm meeting with a developer, I met with a developer not too long ago who had 13 townhomes in a downtown neighborhood he wanted to develop and sell. And this was the process I walked him through to talk to him a little bit about how we were going to attract the right consumer. And I'm a huge fan of Facebook ads. I'm not sure, obviously, if we were in a room together, I would ask you guys, hey, raise your hand if you're using Facebook ads. But obviously, I can't do that right now. So I want to walk you through Facebook ads a little bit here. And to get into Facebook ads, again, there's Google ads, there's Yelp ads, there's Instagram ads, there's ads everywhere, okay? I've done Google ads. I find the Google space in the national marketplace to be too crowded. That's why I jump into the Facebook space on this. So when we look at Facebook.com and we go to the ads section, so Facebook.com/ads, it's going to bring up this page for you here, okay? Now I want you just to go in here after this webinar today and just play here. Learn it and see how the whole platform works. It's super easy. Up here at the top, you'll see Create Ad, and when you click on Create Ad, it'll take you to this dashboard here to create your ad. So I'll first ask you, this takes a little bit long to load, so I wanted to go ahead and have it loaded up for you guys today before I got to this area. Okay, and this is the page that will come up. I defaulted it to send people to my website. And I want you to look over here on the right side of the screen, and I want you to see the potential reach. It's 191 million people. So if I were to put an ad on Facebook right now and I had a limitless budget, and I just put a simple ad out there, that reach would be 191 million people. Now, if you have the budget to reach 191 million people, then we need to talk, because you're extremely wealthy and I have some things I want you to invest in here in Nashville. But if you're like me, you're going to need to limit your search, okay? So that's just the people in the United States of 191 million. So if I want to say specifically in the United States, a certain zip code in Nashville, Tennessee, for example, let's talk a little bit, since I work a lot about the socially responsive buyer. Let's look at 37206. Which is one of the areas. And I want you to notice this 191 million number, okay? When I click off on this, I want you to see what that number does. 21,000 people. So in the zip code 37206, 21,000 people are on that demographic. It pulls it up here in the map. That's exactly my office sits right here. So I'm right here on this little green park right outside downtown Nashville, and this is the zip code I'm looking at, okay? Now we see the age here. Again, in fair housing, we want to make sure we're serving everyone. So I'll make that very clear. When we're advertising, we need to make sure that our ads are not niching so much that we are creating fair housing violations. But today, for today's instructional purposes, I just want to show you how this works. And do we really think that 18-year-olds are buying homes? Do we think that there will be our demographic? I don't know. But in my marketplace, usually at this price point, the buyer for this space is going to be at least 25. Okay, that takes it down to 18,000 people. And just for today's example, let's say we're going to work with everyone in the ad that goes up to age 55. We see it goes to 15,000 people at that point, okay? Well, let's keep it at 65 plus, because obviously we want to serve all age groups too. So 18,000 people. And then we can also say, you know what, more likely the person in the household who's making the decision for the family is perhaps the woman of the household. So when we click on women, it takes us to 9,300 people, okay? Again, we're taking this funnel and we're just filtering down to get the right set for advertising, niche advertising. Okay, and then we can also talk about languages that they speak, all those things. But just for example, today we're looking at women between the ages of 25 and 65 plus. And then we get into this really cool piece. And this is where I want to bring it back to what we talked about when we opened up about your consumer brand. Emulators, achievers, belongers, socially conscious. Okay, and you know that if you're working with that kind of consumer, and you have, for example, the townhomes I was selling, which was in a transitional neighborhood here in downtown Nashville, it was a socially responsive buyer. There were going to be people who were living in the burbs, who were younger, who were trying to get into the urban core, and they wanted to be the change in their neighborhoods. So in this, there's all kinds of interests and behaviors here, okay? So obviously, I'm doing a lot of marketing to real estate professionals for my development. So you can see they're already up here because I'm trying to hit them up early on. So a lot of my internal pay-per-click and search engine marketing piece for my website. You can see defaulted in here. But we can also say they have an interest in nonprofit work, okay? So when we look at it, if they're in the nonprofit, we can see in this zip code, we're at 9,000. When we look, you see over here it's changed to fewer than 1,000 people. So what this means is in Facebook, between the ages of 25 and 65 in the zip code of 37206, and when we're looking at just women who are interested in nonprofit, it's less than 1,000 people. So that likely limits us way too much, okay? So how do we look at certain other areas? And let's say, for example, that someone is interested in gardening. So we have a home that has an amazing backyard in it, that has some garden plants, planting area. Again, 3,000 people. Wow. So in 37206, if we want to target women between the ages of 25 and 65 to sell this home that we have on our website and get them to our website, we can take our ads straight into 3,000 people on Facebook. That sounds like a win to me, okay? Then we go down here to the daily budget area, okay? Now keep in mind the way Facebook does ads is when you reach your daily budget, it turns off. So if you don't want to spend over $5 a day, once your money is out, kind of like your slot machines or whatever, you have your budget for the day. When that money's out, it's out. Facebook will turn the ad off for the day. So you can set your budget. Obviously, the higher the budget, the more people it's going to reach, okay? So when you're in these zones, I'm usually spending anywhere, based off the ad that I'm running, from $5 to $10 a day. It doesn't have to be a whole lot to get people in there. And then you start making your ad at this point. So I spent a lot of time going through this little piece, and this is just one page on the website. And this is what I really want you guys to play on today. When you leave the webinar today, I want you to be able to play with this, to play with the demographics you think that you would like to have come into your website, and go through this Facebook ad area. On the next page, it's going to run you through uploading photos, uploading text that you'll want to run in the ad. Again, you have very little space to say what you need to say in these ads to get them to your website. So be very selective. Seek professional advice on what they think the best way to get these people to your website would be. Okay? So when we're looking at this second piece, which is search engine marketing, I gave you now an example of how to set up search engine marketing. On the first one, search engine optimization is more difficult because it's a marathon. It's something that you're going to take and do over many, 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 many months. Whereas search engine marketing can be a sprint. It's something that literally you can hang up the webinar today right after lunch today, and you can immediately go buy ads, and by the end of the day, you could see leads in your box to your website based off the ad purchases you made. So SEO is the marathon, search engine optimization is the sprint. And then finally, in this third point, the strategy for getting them to your website is social media optimization. Social media optimization. And this is when we are taking content and we are sharing it in our Facebook world or in our Twitter world or our Instagram world or whatever YouTube, whatever social medium platform you are choosing to share with the world on. And so if we are putting a link out to our website, they're clicking off that website from that social medium, then that obviously is a strategy to get them to our website. And there are many ways to do that also. I'm going to go a little bit more to that here at the end of the presentation today on that piece on social media optimization. So let's wrap this up in this one point. When you're speaking with a seller, to say, Mr. and Miss Seller, I have a very robust web strategy for your home. Obviously, today's home consumer 91% based off of NAR's home buyer study, 91% of all consumers start their search online. So it's extremely important, Mr. and Ms. Seller, that your home is exposed there extremely well. And not only that it's online, but there's a strategy behind that home sale. And I want to explain to you today, Mr. and Ms. Seller, that I have 3 strategies that I employ to get the consumer to your website. The first strategy is search engine marketing, search engine optimization, which is SEO, search engine marketing, which is SEM, or in pay-per-click, and the third is social media optimization. And through my listing presentation today, Mr. and Ms. Seller, I'm going to show you some examples through my website of the ways I'm building traffic to your home in order to sell your home quickly for top dollar. So that's one of the listing strategies and one of the listing scripts that all my team uses. It's in our listing strategy, listing presentation, and actually we have these terms in there. So when I talked earlier about knowing some terminology, so when you're speaking to today's tech-savvy consumers, especially the millennials, you're now speaking their language when you're sitting in a listing presentation and still speaking in the web world very fluently. Okay, number 4. So number 1, 2, 3, we've talked about brand. We've talked about the process of getting them to the website. But now they're on your website. How do you capture them? It's great and all if they're coming and they're spending till 3 o'clock in the morning on their website, but you don't know who they are, and then they go out after they found that home on your website and they go hire so-and-so over at your competition, and they purchased their home through that person because you didn't have a way to capture them. So I do want to talk about some websites we are using to help capture the consumer that work really well for me and my business. And these are some of my favorites here. Prime Seller Leads is primesellerleads.com. I have a website called Home Pricing Index, and what Prime Seller Leads does, and when we go to homepricingindex.com, and we actually go to that's the sign-in page, so you can see Prime Seller Leads, but when we actually go to homepricingindex.com to my page there, you'll see, are you selling your Nashville home or condo? Okay, and in the background you can see pictures going by of downtown Nashville. The joy of this service and what I really like about it is that it picks up the IP address, which typically just simply means where is that computer broadcasting from today. So if I were to open this website, if you go to it right now, and I'm sure some of you are going to it right now, you're seeing are you selling your city is showing up instead of Nashville, and in the background you still see the Nashville skyline. The joy with this product is I can set all kinds of pictures for specific neighborhoods, so when someone comes from that certain area, it's going to capture that. It's going to personalize the experience for them. It's going to say, are you selling your Cleveland Park home, which is a neighborhood here in Nashville? Are you selling your Green Hills home? So it really feels hyper-local when they're coming to our website. So when I enter address here, for example, 108 Fern Avenue, which is one of an investment home I own, at this point, they do the search, and it's going to start this, how do we capture? So now the system has already captured them. I've got their address. So I know whoever has interest in 108 Fern Avenue, they are on my website and searching. This will send me an alert immediately in my email. Okay? But at this point, it gives the consumer the opportunity to give you more information about their home. Some of them at this point will click off, and you won't get that email or the things. You have to go through the standard snail mail to reach them at this point. But I will tell you, the vast majority, they're entering their name, their information here in this zone where I'm able to get their lead capture information, okay? And then once I click here, it's going to generate a report, and it's going to say, what's your phone number? Are you interested in selling your home, refinancing, or are you just curious? And what's the time frame you're looking at? And then the condition. And then once they hit that, it sends them a CMA report, and then sends me their contact information. So now I have captured the lead. I will get this in my mailbox immediately, and I'm able to give them a call through the Prime Seller Leads website. So excellent website. Again, I'm doing Facebook ads on this website. I've suspended it for right now, but we're doing, again, some revamps on some websites, so you're not going to see the ads running out there in that space. The other one is the Prime Buyer website. House Hunters Nashville, I believe, is my website for that one. Again, these are more on the ad space. So this is the buyer site. So again, if we're looking here at the back to my slide that talks about the strategy to capture them, this is the primebuyerleads.com site, okay? And this is when they come to the website here and they start searching. It's a simple search, and then it sends the capture to me. We've captured the lead now, and we're able to call and follow up with them. The third system we use here is Tiger Leads. And Tiger Leads has several products, and this is a Realtor.com product. I don't have any affiliation with any of these people. I'm going to tell you now. They don't pay me a dime. I still pay for their service, so I'm not getting any kickbacks or anything, and that's on purpose because I only talk about the things I truly use and believe in. And Tiger Leads has been really, really good for us. We use Tiger Leads hand raiser service. This is where people are going to Realtor.com. They're wanting to request more information on a home where they want to contact with a realtor, meaning they are raising their hand, and it sends us the lead. And then we go through the process on this. We are, just as an earmark here, we're getting to the final minutes of our webinar. We have 10 minutes left in this webinar. So if you have questions, go ahead and start chatting those questions in now, because I am going to leave the last few minutes for those questions. They will be feeding them to me. If you don't have questions, then we will finish a little bit early because I've left that time there, okay? So start chatting those questions in to our moderators today. But Tiger Leads, love the product. I've been thrilled with it. I do have a team of agents here. We are calling those buyers within 30 seconds of them hitting our website, and then they're usually in cars with us in the next few days. You should expect 10% of these leads to convert. So you have to have 100 leads in order to get 10 people to convert, okay? So understand it is a process on that. And then the other website that we just went to is called Boomtown. It's boomtownroi.com. Again, boomtownroi.com. An amazing mechanism to, again, track leads. The back end is very, very robust. Excellent, excellent website to work with. And so Boomtown, and they are out of Charleston, South Carolina. So those would be 4 of the top strategies that I feel are a great way to capture people at your website. And then finally, the thing you need is a strategy to measure the people who are coming to your website. There's all kinds of analytics programs out there. When I say analytics, this is simply a program that says, okay, so-and-so hit your website. This is how many people have come to the website. Google Analytics. Again, analytics. Google Analytics is one of the most popular ones that just shows what the consumer behavior is. Another one is called WOOPRA. That's W-O-O-P-R-A. W-O-O-P as in Paul, R-A. WOOPRA.com is another way. So there's all kinds of ways to measure your consumer behavior there, and it's going to be important for you to keep your analytics there. I started seeing some questions coming in, so I want to make sure to make sure I get some of these answered for you guys as they start coming in. On the other strategy piece, and this is the piece that that really I can't give you technical information on, because this gets into the personal piece of this. And when I talked about this social media optimization piece earlier, in social media, do people like you online? I teach a class called endearment, the art of digitally engaging your clients' communities. And this is, how are we loving our consumer? When they come to your website, when they come to your social media, do you attract them or do you put them off? And right now until November, when this election is over, we are just repelling so many people right now with so many of the posts we're putting out in the social media world. And no one is really attracted to that. So when we have an online presence, a social presence that truly accepts people and makes them want to come to us and do business with us, that's how we attract people to our websites more than anything. And while that's not one of the things here as our top 5 website must-haves, that's too abstract for us to really go into. Ultimately, you have to create a brand that people are attracted to. And it goes down to, if you're a good person and you come and you can show people on the online space that you're a good person, and you have your websites and your social media platforms reflect the heart that you have as a realtor, I do believe that realtors are the kindest, most loving people in the world. And I know that sounds Pollyanna, but I really, really believe that about us today. And we need to show people that area for us there. So our first question that we do have, we are in our final 5 minutes. The first question, Ms. Norris, I see your question, to offer consultations. I don't actually. I do webinars like this. I used to do a lot of national speaking until 4 years ago I had the opportunity to adopt the most amazing little boy you've ever met in your life. And his name is Micah, and he became a priority for me. And so I do manage my brokerage here, and I stopped all consulting and most of the teaching. Marilyn was able to book me last year for this, and I agreed to do it that way. So I'm so sorry about that. Other question here from Tiffany Carnes. Are the capture strategies built into a main website, or are there different domains for each of the targets? For example, buyers and sellers. Also, what was the name of the site for prime buyer leads? Thank you. Okay, Tiffany, yes. Thank you for asking that question. I did leave that part out. So you were listening very intently, and I did leave that out. These are different websites. So my main website is NashvilleandBeyond.com. That is my business card. If you were to send a referral to Nashville, Tennessee, which I know all of you on this website today, the next person who comes to you and says, hey, I need a realtor in Nashville, you're going to send them to me. Thank you. Send them to NashvilleandBeyond.com. That's how they're going to reach me. However, these other websites, House Hunters Nashville, the Home Pricing Index, these are separate URLs or separate websites or different domains, as you asked it, Tiffany, and they are directed differently from the companies I employ to do that. And then you also asked, what was the name of the site for Prime Buyer Lead? It was House Hunters Nashville. Was that website for my personal one? But if you're looking for Prime Buyer Leads as a whole, it is primebuyerleads.com, and they're affiliated with Prime Seller Leads. For the seller leads, Denise, I see your question is, what was the website for seller leads? My personal website is homepricingindex.com, homepricingindex.com, but the website for Prime Seller Leads is primesellerleads.com. Again, primesellerleads.com. Okay, so those are the 3 questions I have so far. I will hold and see if there are any other questions, and in that time, again, as a president next year of the Tennessee Association of Realtors, this is one of the ideas I want to steal from you guys. This is an amazing realtor consumer service that you guys are offering. The fact that Maryland is taking and giving you guys this kind of education in a series is so applaudable. So I can certainly tell that you guys can see that your dues dollars are going to an amazing service for your association. And I hope that you'll take today's webinar, you will share it with others, you will invite others to get involved in the future webinars of the Maryland Association, and that you will take some of these pieces with you today and learn. So in review, those 5 areas that we need to work on. Number 1, your challenge today, and many of you perhaps have a horrible website and you want to revamp it. The big thing for you is to sit down and talk to your consumers, know who your consumers are, and know what they want when they come to your website, okay? The second key point is to make sure you understand those 3 major pieces of search engine optimization, search engine marketing, and social media optimization, and putting those into your listing presentations. And then that 4th piece is Make sure you have the websites in place to make sure you've got the ability to capture that lead. And then, of course, the fifth thing we saw is have a strategy to measure. The question on the screen from Bobette is, what was the main website again for me? My main website is Nashville, the city Nashville, and beyond.com. NashvilleandBeyond.com is that final question. So guys, thanks so much today for coming out to the webinar. And I hope you go out this afternoon and make some wonderful sales. Have a great weekend and happy St. Patrick's Day to you all.
Good afternoon. Just wanted to let everybody know that this session has been recorded and it will be available on mdrealtors.org. Thank you and have a wonderful day.